Yes. I mean, we have course creators on our platform that are making millions of dollars a year.
I don't believe it. That's bull
True.
hockey.
It is true. I
Doing
think,
what? Because we got to
um,
switch and go figure out whatever they're
telling
doing.
you should create a course, Ellen. Growth marketing.
Wahoo! Welcome to Tough Talk, Jill.
Thanks, Ellen. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I've got 5 questions for you, but real quick. So, Tough Talk. I wear this hat and essentially pepper you with what we call tough questions
Tough.
about
Uh-oh.
about career growth, growth at your current company, personal growth, and with that, I'll dive right in.
Go for it.
I had to go down memory lane because I've known you for 10 years, but
But how long?
I think so. I
Oh
think
my
so.
God.
And you've had careers AOL, Nielsen, Kaplan. You've consulted at large successful enterprises, and now you're at Teachable. And one of the things I'm curious about, I've never asked you before, is there a common thread like among these companies? And have you always kind of had the same role at these companies, or has it looked different with each career step?
So I will say, I mean, it's looked different in the fact that obviously it's been a growth pattern, right? So where I started, you forgot my agency background, where I started with an agency for
I didn't
about
know that.
7.5 years. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Which I highly recommend agency as a place to start your career, because I think there's a lot of opportunities to get your feet wet in lots of different industries and across the board and spectrum of what marketing is available. So there's been growth. I've touched on lots of different, most of my, I would say like the large part of my career was at Nielsen, where I met you and spent about 10 years of my career there, growing teams from brand marketing to product marketing to sales marketing to even adding communications into the mix a little bit, and got some really good leadership chops from good leaders that I had there too. And then I moved to Kaplan. The other thing about my career has been a mix of B2C and B2B.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been a unique, I think, for me. I started my career at B2C, then I went to Nielsen for B2B, and I went to Kaplan and I did both B2B and B2C. And so now I'm at Teachable, where it's this unique place of
Kind of
sort of the
B2B.
middle.
Yeah. It's kind
Yeah.
of B2B because it's, I guess you call them small business owners and entrepreneurs, which
Right, but it's not enterprise B2B, right? Like you're not
correct.
going after like enterprise. So they're consumers, but they're business owners. And so it's a unique kind of place to be in the middle of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You talked about at these large organizations being able to kind of like hone in on your leadership skills. In your assessment, what makes a good leader?
I think a good leader is someone who's extremely transparent. So really helping to make the connections between lots of different teams for people and being really open about what the expectations are, what the roles are, what the KPIs are, how do you make sure people are being set up for success. And then also empowering. So not answering all the questions directly, not doing all the things, but actually empowering people to feel like they have the ability and the gut to go answer those questions, do those things. And I think if you're transparent about what the metrics are that they're going to be measured against, it's really easy to empower them to understand how to make those decisions.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Speaking of metrics and KPIs, what are in your role today at Teachable? What are your metrics and KPIs?
So the Teachable organizations metrics are about subscriber growth. So how do we get more people into the platform, more people buying a subscription and creating their courses and building them and being successful. So mine, all marketing is attached to those kind of higher organizational goals. There's KPIs to help us know, are we like on the path to getting there? And some of those are certainly traffic to our website, leads, free subscriptions? So how are we getting more people to use the product, into the product? And then, I mean, I don't think you can have a marketing organization that doesn't have CAC and LTV as other KPIs to know how you're doing.
Speaking of goals, do you guys at Teachable have, or maybe you've brought this to your team, do you have a goal setting framework that you really lean on as an organization?
A goal setting framework. What do you mean by that?
Like at TUF, we use OKRs, so objectives and key results.
We don't at Teachable, actually. I was surprised. I've only been here 5 weeks, so
that's it.
Give me a hot second.
And you're not an expert yet?
But we don't use OKRs. I'm surprised by that. At Kaplan we did. And I thought it was a useful tool. You know, I will say at Teachable, we're pretty singularly focused. So that I think is really helpful. But I see value in using those kinds of metrics and goals processes in place. We don't have them today, from what I'm aware of.
Bring me up to speed on Teachable. And has the company grown completely like bootstrap from day one, or has there been funding rounds, and kind of like where are you at in Teachable's like stage of growth?
Yeah, so Teachable has a really interesting story. It was started by somebody who was on a different platform, on Udemy. And Udemy business model is essentially they'll market you and they'll put your content on their platform, but they own the content and they take a very large percentage of the revenue. And our founder was like, well, that seems crazy. Like, this is my content, this is my intellectual property, and somebody else is just taking a huge percentage of it. And so he decided to go off and build Teachable, which at that point was called Fedora. And so he built this.
Like the hat?
Like the hat, yeah.
Sweet.
Fun fact. So he built this in his apartment in Brooklyn and very, very quickly realized there was product market fit, that other people were having this pain point, and he was able to kind of grow a business out of it. We are currently owned by a company called Hotmart, which is a similar business out of Brazil. Not the same. Hotmart's business model is different. They're not a SaaS company. They are still serving creators in their marketplaces, but they take a percentage of the student revenue. So you can build your course for free, and then once you start selling it, they take a percentage. Teachable is a different business model, which is more SaaS, which is we're a subscription business. So you pay us a monthly fee, no matter how small or how big your business is. That is irrelevant to us. Although we obviously want our creators to be really successful, because then it helps us help them get up the subscription model to more of an enterprise relationship.
Do you ever see, out of curiosity, creators that are really successful leaving the platform because they feel like they've built an audience and a community, and they've kind of like refined their own tools, so they might as well go build it on their own? Or do you feel like great course creators get sticky?
I think great course creators get sticky. There's very little course creators who want to go build an engineering platform on their own. And so they're more interested, especially at the rates of which we're charging them, which is, you know, our largest subscription is like $199 a month or something. So it's not, there's not a lot of value in them going off and building this on their own. And most of the course creators are not exactly like building or teaching about engineering or things like that, right? I was telling you earlier, there's goat herders in, you know.
Sign me up.
There's knitting, there's guitar playing, like it runs the gamut from business and teaching about coaching and things like that, all the way to really creative and artistic types of creators.
Another just out of curiosity question. This has turned a little bit more into Teachable than about Jill.
Hey, Teachable is so interesting.
I'm curious if you guys have stats on like the low end, what an average course creator makes, to like on a high end, a very successful course creator makes.
Yes. I mean, we have course creators on our platform that are making millions of dollars a year.
I don't believe it. That's
true.
Bull hockey.
It is true. I think.
What? Because we got to switch and go figure out whatever they're
Telling
doing.
you should create a course, Ellen. Growth marketing. It would be so, so lucrative. But yes, there are course creators who make millions of dollars. And there are course creators who make nothing, right? So some of them are giving it away for free. Some of them are just starting. I mean, we run the gamut of people who are just at the earliest stages to very, very well-defined businesses.
I'm going to pull it back and end on a question that's a little bit more centered around you. And I mean, I think we've talked about it through, your time at AOL and Nielsen and Kaplan, and Teachable now, but you're often in roles and brought into organizations where you need to surround yourself with a team quickly. And I read on LinkedIn, somebody wrote like a post about you, a review about you, and they said she's a terrific org designer and manages her team's strengths. And I'm curious, what do you look for in hires when you're building a team at a new organization?
I mean, other than some level of subject matter expertise, I am looking for somebody who has a lot of drive. I think at a place like Teachable, I'm also interested in someone who feels passion for the mission. I think that's really important to the culture we're creating. And I love being at a place where I can say that, right? Where I can say, we have a mission, we're really excited about growing these creators, helping them build their own businesses. And I want somebody on my team who feels that same passion. And then, motivated, looking to grow their career, not really, like, we want people who want to get to that next step, who are eager to kind of go that extra mile, who want to stretch themselves. Because similar to that, what you just quoted, like, I like to build careers for people and help stretch them and help them get to that next level.
How do you, I've had about 10 of these conversations, and the idea about drive comes up a lot, whether I'm talking to a founder or somebody who's building teams, but the word drive comes up all the time. I'm always curious if there's a way to assess that. How do you assess drive?
A few ways. I think you can take a look at their career path to date. And, it doesn't scare me when someone's been in a company for a year. Like, I think their old school way was like, oh, they're not going to be there long. And I'm like, no, they have drive. They wanted to get to the next level and they didn't think they could do it there. So they went someone else, right? Like, I actually think that is indicative of drive. And then also it's just in their energy, right? Like, you talk about, you're interviewing someone. Unfortunately, it is now in this 2D environment. But
I love it.
You do? Oh, I
Yes.
want to touch you, Ellen. I don't love it.
Don't you remember interviewing? I haven't interviewed in a long time, but maybe I was never good. But being in the same room, you're so close. There's so many, like, what do I wear? And maybe you grow into
You were
it.
talking about it from the perspective of the interviewee. I'm
Exactly.
and it's like, I want to
let's
feed
give
off
these
your energy.
candidates, let's give these candidates a break. It is so hard to interview.
It
Like,
is.
now we put this nice little screen in between us, and I love it.
I agree. But I do think as they talk about their work and what they've done, you can get a sense of their excitement around it and how they're portraying it to you and how they're talking about it and the passion they have behind it. And I do think passion and drive are very similar in that regard. And you can get a sense of like how that will portray itself in your environment.
I have a book recommendation.
Yes.
I'm in the middle of it. I've been very like audiobook. And living in Colorado, we drive a lot to all these mountain towns that you can never remember. So I'm in the
download the book first so that it doesn't go in and out of service. I get it.
Yeah, but I just love it. And then right now I'm in the middle of Can't Hurt Us by David Goggins, who was a Navy SEAL, but just talks about mental toughness. And I think a lot about drive. You should check it out. I think you might like it.
I will. Can't Hurt Us. Okay.
That's all I got today. Thank you for jumping on with me.
Thanks for having me. This is
High
fun.
fives. High five.